Welcome aboard to today's Wings of Rescue maternity ward flight, as it's time to rush 60 dogs, including 2 extremely pregnant mommies. We've got Nancy right here. We're going to give you a little script. Nancy is extremely pregnant.
My name is Cassie Davidson, and I am the Vice President of Public Relations for Wings of Rescue. Wings of Rescue began in 2012, so it's been about 14 years. It started with a single pilot and a vision to help pets in shelters, in overcrowded shelters, find safety and to avoid unnecessary humane euthanasia. Wings of Rescue flies at-risk shelter pets from overcrowded shelters all across the United States. And we also fly pets from disaster zones. So if there's a wildfire or flooding or a hurricane, Wings of Rescue will fly in, remove shelter pets from the area and fly them to shelter partners in the Northwest and the Northeast. Wings of Rescue also flies in humanitarian and veterinary aid as well.
What will happen shortly, probably in the next 10 minutes, is each of the rescues will begin to unload, but all the crates are color coordinated. So we know that crates with red duct tape on top go to a certain destination, green go to a different destination, and blue to another. And so as we unload on the tarmac, we'll actually arrange them according to colors.
Okay, so right now we're a little early, so I don't want to put them in their airline kennels just yet because they'll just poop in there, and I would like them to be able to take off in a clean kennel.
Yeah, you know, I don't think people understand in the shelter, the people who work in the shelter and volunteered in the shelter, the incredible love they have for the animals. I mean, they pour their time and their heart into them, and not finding them a home and the worry of not finding them a home. And for many of these shelters that are here tonight, the fear of the impossible decisions they face for space is incredibly difficult and stressful. And so having an option like Wings of Rescue that's able to come in and pull them from overcrowded and overstressed shelters and give them a second chance, and a foster or adopter or a rescue that has open space is just so incredibly powerful.
So what is going on in overcrowded shelters that makes these flights just so powerful? In particular, in the South, we don't have inclement weather. And so puppy and kitten season is year-round, where your northern states actually deal with colder weather. They don't have the stray population that the southern states are dealing with, so their puppy and kitten season is very limited. So that being said, with your southern states constantly having puppies and kittens and constantly dealing with pet overpopulation, you can see how it's a vicious cycle.
This last flight, there was a woman in the parking lot, and she was sitting there with an animal, a dog in her lap. And I just stopped and I visited with her, and I asked her, I said, is this going to be a hard one? And she said, yeah. And she was teary, and she was just holding the dog, and she said, I've you know, raised this puppy in the shelter. And she said, I am having a hard time knowing I'm about to say goodbye. And she said, and I'm scared how they're going to be on the flight. I'm scared if he's going to be scared. And so I was able to tell her, actually, it's really peaceful. They settle in, they sleep. It's really quiet, and it's really powerful because as soon as we open the plane door, the rescues that are waiting there are so excited to see them, and they greet them with so much love. And just to see the comfort that brought her was really cool. But on the flip side, to see her incredible love for that animal. And so we came in here and we pulled the crates onto the tarmac, and she sat there the whole time with her animal, kind of hugging its crate and having its last moments with it. I think for me, just seeing the power of that love, that's ultimately what people miss. They don't realize. They know shelters are overfilled. They know they're facing impossible decisions. They don't understand how devastating that is to the shelter workers and how powerful opportunities like this are.
These are some of the little kitties that will be on the flight. So, as I mentioned, we always socialize the pets before they go on a flight. And so that's what's happening here is, who doesn't love kitten love? So these are just a few of the kitties that are going on the flight. Their lives are saved. They've got families, they've got homes waiting for them.
Oh, this is my office on the daily, and I'm definitely the crazy cat lady up here. This is the crazy cat, and I'm the crazy cat lady. Her name is Poop. Her name is Pooh, and she's going on the flight tonight. Pooh is a tortoiseshell cat with 100% sass and attitude. I started out as a foster parent. I stayed at home with my kids when they were little, and I needed something for me to do at home, and so I actually fostered puppies. Once I started working for the Humane Society of North Texas, I actually started in the foster office, and for me, fostering kittens was the easier way to go working full-time, and they latched on. They touched my heart. I had never been a cat person in my life, and now I own 6.
This is Americano, and she's going to be going to Maryland tonight. And all of these cats got to spend time with their mom and their foster care, and now they're going to fly with Wings of Rescue and find their forever family.
This is Latte and Mocha. They're headed to Maryland on a flight with Wings of Rescue. They'll be going to new families once they get to Maryland.
A typical flight looks like intense coordination from sending partners weeks prior to a flight. There is an awful lot of work that happens behind the scenes prior to a flight. We also make sure that we have receiving partners where no pets will be displaced upon the incoming pet's arrival. So on flight day, all the goodbyes are said by the volunteers. The staff is getting them ready, giving them baths. A lot of times they'll travel with notes on their kennels taped down that talk about the personalities of the pets that are flying to our shelter partners and to their new families, because oftentimes pets are pre-adopted as they're flying to the Northeast and to the Northwest.
I love doing this because you get to watch animals find a forever family, and the turnaround time is so quick, so you really see an impact right away.
I love doing this because you get to see animals that you've seen for weeks or months or years at the shelter finally go away to their forever home. It's so exciting.
All of the teams have just finished unloading 161 pets. The next step, we're gonna start loading them onto the belt loader. A couple of people jump inside of the plane. We'll get them stacked and get them going and try to get out of here in the next hour.
So by the time we load all the crates onto the tarmac, and Wings of Rescue can fly anywhere from, we could say 50 dogs and cats to 250 on a single flight, depending on the sizes of the crates. So on the receiving end, they are so happy and so excited to see these pets come off the plane. Oftentimes when I fly with our pets, and I am the flight attendant, I'm the one giving them the Oreos, the vanilla Oreos, and giving them the little head pats and scratches and comforting those who might be, wondering what is going on. By the time we get to the other end, these rescues and these shelter partners already know their pets. And so they'll look through the kennel and they'll see their dog. Oh my gosh, there's Chloe, or oh my goodness, look, there's Willie. And we haven't even taken the crate off the plane yet. So it is so rewarding to see that we have flown pets who were at risk of euthanasia to locations where they have their first chance at finding a forever home. Who I am holding here is Scrap, and Scrap is our 91,000th pet who is flying to safety with Wings of Rescue tonight here out of the Dallas area. Look at his little tongue sticking out. He's just so cute. But this little life is saved. This is a pet who very likely could have been euthanized just because we've run out of space here in Texas. And so knowing that Scrap has a family and now he's a little superstar.
These are some of the most fun week trips we do. We do them pretty much every single weekend. And it's one of the most heartwarming things we do here. We do a lot of car parts and stuff like that, but all the partnerships we do with like Wings of Rescue and Operation Kindness is honestly so much fun. There's no better cargo in my opinion. I used to volunteer for a lot of these kinds of organizations, and so it's just one flower.
You'd be surprised what happens at 25,000 feet. It is surprisingly quiet. There is a hum in the plane, and no pets are barking, no cats are really meowing, and it's kind of like a sleep tonic, for lack of a better word. And once we start descending is when all the huskies and all the beagles start giving you their life story. So they're very peaceful, it's very quiet, and we do make sure that we have eyes on them all the time. When I think about the most impactful flight that I have been on is when we flew into Puerto Rico. It was just so moving. I have chills just thinking about it. I will never forget this flight. We flew in, and prior to the flight, we had gone to what they call Dead Dog Beach, which is where satos, who are their island dogs, that's what they call their stray dogs, where all the satos are dumped. And just to see how many moms, babies, just all the stray dogs, and hundreds of them in that area. And to know that there are organizations, rescues, and shelters that are doing everything within their power to catch them on a daily basis. So we have this flight of over 100 satos that are flying to their shelter partner in New York City. And to arrive and have, most of these dogs were pre-adopted. And so to have them, at least 200 people, who are either adopters or fosters coming to pick up their dogs. They were cheering, they were crying, they were applauding, they were jumping up and down. They were so excited that they were able to save these dogs' lives and get them off the island. As soon as the door opened, I started crying. It was so moving. With Wings of Rescue flying in, humanitarian and veterinary aid, in particular, last year alone, we flew in for the Los Angeles wildfires. We flew 10 plane loads of dogs and cats who were currently in the shelter system out so that pets who were being found could be reunited with their owners. So it was vital that every time we flew in, we were bringing supplies, whether it was water, veterinary aid, pet food, anything that they needed. We were able to fly in tons and tons of aid and then fly pets out into shelter partners. Tyler is this gentleman with the Rottweiler, and so when I walked by, I started petting his dog, petting his Rottweiler, and he goes, "See, not everybody's afraid of you." And I stopped and I looked at him and I said, "You mean people avoid you because of your Rottweiler?" And he says, "Oh yeah, absolutely." He says, "This dog was on the euthanasia list just because of what he looks like." And that is the sweetest dog. So he's been fostering him, he's been networking him, and this dog is already adopted, going upstate to real Rottweiler.
Yeah, I know.
Wings of Rescue absolutely contributes to supporting communities who are experiencing natural disasters, from the wildfires in LA to the flooding in Central Texas, any of the hurricanes that hit the coast.
We're going to fly them to their new homes. And out of here, there's been no electricity, there's no water, no fuel, pretty much, for people in their homes. Those who still are fortunate to have homes since the hurricane came.
We will fly in humanitarian and veterinary aid, and we will fly shelter pets who have been waiting for homes out to our shelter partners to clear space so that pets can be reunited with their owners. Wings of Rescue supports spay and neuter. That is the foundation of what we believe in. We know that the crisis is due to overpopulation, so our Operation Pit Stop program provides free spay and neuter services to low-income families. What we have found is costs have increased. It's exponential in their pricing, where I don't want to necessarily give a number, and I can say this differently, but what we have found is that in the northern states, a single neuter surgery could cost upwards of $700. And so when this happens, you create a financial crisis, and people are not able to afford altering their pets. And then a pet gets out, or a pet is bred, and it just continues contributing to the problem. Here in the South, we struggle equally. Here in the South, the struggle is the same. Spay and neuter services have grown so much that your common person can't afford a spay or neuter service unless they use a low-cost clinic, and oftentimes these clinics are months booked in advance. A single female cat can give birth 3 times a year, and if you consider she could have 6, 8 kittens, my goodness, it just grows exponentially. So it is critical that we spay and neuter our pets to ensure that they are not reproducing. Puppies and kittens don't even have to be fully grown to be able to reproduce. And so what we're seeing is even younger, what we call tweens. So tween dogs or cats are able to reproduce and able to have several litters in a single year. So you could have a 6-month-old or an 8-month-old who is already reproducing, and it is just become an epidemic. Shelters are only as good as the community they serve. When you see or you hear that pets are being euthanized, I would ask you to ask yourself, are you fostering? Are you adopting from an animal shelter? They're not broken. They're lovable. You have just fully vetted, ready to go pets coming out of shelters that just need a chance. I don't think the general population understands that when you surrender a pet and you displace it from its home, it's going to take time for that pet to really recover, decompress, figure things out, and find a new home. So you can have an impact by adopting a shelter pet. And I think that one of the struggles that we really deal with is it's just second nature. You don't want it anymore. Oh, I got it because, my daughter wanted a kitten and now it's grown and, I don't have time for it. And so you make it somebody else's problem. I would ask the community to please consider before you purchase, please consider before you breed your pets. Could you adopt? Could you foster? Could you volunteer? Could you make that impact within your community before you buy? So what keeps me hopeful is knowing that the word of Wings of Rescue is getting out. We've been around for over 14 years, and there's still people who didn't know that we provide emergency flights to pets in need. And so what we're seeing is an uptick in volunteers at our shelter partners. We're seeing more and more fosters who are stepping up to get these pets out of the shelter. Even just on social media or on our website, are receiving additional volunteers now. They've got an influx of fosters because of the awareness that Wings of Rescue is shedding on pet overpopulation. To me, that is just so incredibly rewarding, and it gives us hope for the future. The more people who know about Wings of Rescue and about overpopulation, the better our communities, the stronger our communities will be.
So proud of our team, and I am so appreciative of all the volunteers. They truly are the heartbeat of this. We don't have our own dedicated volunteers. These are all shelter volunteers. So we always encourage anyone who is watching or learning about Wings of Rescue, get involved with your local shelters. Donate your time, donate your resources, whether it's volunteering, fostering. You never know, Wings of Rescue might just show up in your town. So what's going to happen next is all of these pets are going to be going to 3 different destinations where their foster families, where their forever families, and where shelter partners are going to be receiving them. No pets will be displaced from this flight, and they've got a full life ahead of them. So next on their journey is they will decompress. We all need to after a flight, right? So these pets will just take some time either in the shelter or with their foster families, or they'll go immediately into their homes, as many of them have been pre-adopted. So they'll learn how to be pets again in a home. There's no more shelter life for them.
So thank you guys so much for coming out and supporting us. Thank you for bringing your pets to us, for trusting us with them. All 161 dogs and cats made this flight. So rewarding. You never get tired of this. As many flights as I have attended, you never get tired of saving lives, ever. I really wish that people understood here in the United States that the shelter crisis we are facing is not the fault of the shelter. It is a fault of a broken community. We don't have the stringent laws that we need to protect these animals. We don't have spay and neuter services that are affordable, and so Wings of Rescue is having to step in. So are other organizations. Everybody is doing their part, but we can do better. All of us, we can all do better. I know the story from the beginning to the end. We get to follow it from the shelter through their journey of flight, through the journey of making their way into a forever home, and seeing the photos and hearing the stories about how families are complete and how, this pet is just perfect. They've waited their whole lives for this pet. That is what this is about. Starting today, if you want to save a life, foster, adopt, donate, get involved, make a difference. You have the power.